I'm scared. I'm scared. We're playing with the white pieces. This is the first game I'm recording in the new year. There have been videos that have gone up already in the new year that I recorded the end of last year, but you know, this is the first real one of the entire year. And again, we're just going along with our plan of playing this knight f3 move order, which has not only been recommended to play from viewers on stream, but also from people that are watching on YouTube, which is awesome. So thank you to those of you on the YouTubes. Much appreciated. So this move's a little funny. I had two threats with it. One is to prevent them from taking on b2, attacking my rook. So if I move my bishop, they can't. And also, you know, I was keeping e4 in the air. Here, e4 makes no sense because after takes, I can't take with a knight because bishop takes and there's a pin. But there's a much stronger move here, right? Just because one of my ideas was originally e4 doesn't mean we have to end there. And here, they're going to run into a lot of problems after the move bishop to g5. Bishop g5 just wins an exchange right off the bat. And this is definitely a problem. So they have to move here. And then I'll take the exchange. See if they come up with anything else. I don't think there's anything else in the position other than just queen g6. Yeah, there's not really anything. And the good thing is our annoyances don't end there for our opponent. We're going to be giving up the bishop here after queen g6, bishop takes d8. But we also get more exchanges off by getting rid of their bishop pair. And we can do that by playing the move knight to h4 after they recapture. And this attacks the queen and the bishop. And trying to reduce material when I'm just up an exchange, there is going to be the imbalance of having a rook for a minor piece. But generally, the closer we get to an endgame, the more that the rook will be important. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. And after queen f5, what should I do? I have an idea, but I want to pass the question to those watching. After queen takes f5, how do we proceed in this position? There's two ways to proceed. Generally, you should look for a pawn break or improving a piece. Our pieces, at least our bishop and our knight, are doing a great job. And our rooks, okay, you might immediately notice, yeah, they're not really doing anything right now, but how do we get them to do something? So luckily, the first thing, which is looking for breaks, actually gives them options. What I want to do here is I want to play e4. After playing e4, this is a tempo on the queen, and it opens up a line, more specifically a file. And if they take, we can take with the d-pawn, or with the knight or the bishop. I think both are acceptable here. I might just take with the pawn. And the idea is now that the d file is completely open. Or if they do this, there's another thing wrong with it. But after the d file opens, then we can bring our rooks there. And we'd be pretty happy. Here, we can actually just win a pawn by taking on d5 here. And do we actually win a pawn? Yeah. So I was thinking knight takes d5 if e takes. So we can play this two ways. If they take back, we either take with the bishop or the knight. And I do like the knight. And we saw this in a game a while back where we gave up the b2 pawn. I played rook b1 and this bishop kind of just saved the day for us. So that ended up not happening. And that's totally fine because this pawn is extremely annoying to remove off the board, and after a move like knight e4 and c4, it's just not being removed at all. So I'm going to play knight to e4 here. And where does that queen go? Okay. It goes to b6. And again, with this b2 pawn, a lot of people respect the b pawn too much when there's opposite side castling. Generally, you should have some respect for it. Here, I don't think I care. I just want to play c4 and create an attack. I'm already up a little bit of material. A pawn, even if I give up 2 pawns here, both of these guys, I just don't see it really being beneficial enough for them. So I like knight g5, but maybe we'll see h6. Do I want to play knight e6? Actually, I don't hate it, because if I play knight to e6 and they take, it opens up my bishop on b7 again. So this is kind of a funny idea, is if they don't take b2, then whatever. But right now, if they take b2, I go rook b1. They can do whatever they want. And I might even just play knight e6. And the whole point is, if they take it, it opens up my bishop on b7. Onto b7. So... Alright, so they played bishop e7 instead. And again, I think I'm going to go with the strategy of giving back the pawn. Just for an insane amount of compensation. And yeah, so there was a comment that also appeared on YouTube. It was something like, well, our opponents are lower rated, and just for those watching either on Twitch or on YouTube, my actual rating is about 2100 to 2150 for rapid. And I hear this idea a lot. Our opponents are X. We can do whatever we want. So I'm calling out those people just a little bit. I think that's reductive and not really helpful for trying to learn new ideas, right? Because it's reducing people at this level to like unhelpful vernacular, essentially. Like I don't know how saying like, oh yeah, we just like take their stuff and that's it, how that's gonna help. I think like talking about activity, talking about a bunch of different things. Of course, the hanging of material is one of the most important things to look out for. But there's still a lot more going on in these games than just that. And I think we have to be mindful of that. And what really made me mindful of that personally is a student I have who's incredibly smart and actually can pick up on a lot of strategic ideas, and of course does struggle with hanging pieces, pawns every once in a while, but can pick up these other ideas. And I don't know, I feel like it's not really motivating to just say, hey, just do this one thing and that's all you're allowed to do. Don't look at openings, even if you enjoy them. Don't do blah 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 blah. It's like, well, some people might not find that fun. So of course, getting better at chess, there's a mix. It's like, sure, you should do things that you're supposed to do, that are prescribed by people that are stronger, like, you know, no longer hanging material or blundering tactics, but you also have to keep an enthusiasm about the game. And I think that's extremely important too. Like, well, maybe studying an opening that you really like, or looking at games from a master that you really enjoy. So here, this move f4, if we talk a little bit more about the game, I was just trying to get a bit more aggressive on their king here, because again, since there's opposite side castling, I was okay with giving up just a teensy bit of material in return. And then I'm starting to align my rook against their queen here, and I was looking for this break f4, where it's really uncomfortable to defend this pawn. You can't push it because I win the pawn, and well, if you play something like bishop f6, I can consider taking it, moving my king away, and trying to take advantage of the poorly placed bishop on e5. But here, instead, our opponent actually gives up the e5 pawn. They were in a pretty rough situation already because of that, though. So, yeah, that's just something to mention. But yeah, that's my little rant and my tirade. Is it's reductive, you know? Just like, yeah, that's about it. So I could play rook e1. I like rook e1, but I also like h3 to prevent knight g4. Now, h3 doesn't feel like the most useful move. The thing is, I want to play rook ae1, and then I want to play rook e6. But if I play rook e1, they play knight g4, and they're threatening both knight f2, check, forcing me into potential discoveries, like knight takes d3. And they're also threatening, well, just to take the rook immediately. And I don't want to give back the exchange. So I think the best way to do this is by playing h3. I could also play bishop f3, I suppose, but that actually does look really tempting. I would be worried of some sort of rook d8. Whereas if h3 is played, I'm not really as worried about rook to d8 because I can just play rook e1. And the important part is I think that c5 will be hanging. And like f3 isn't technically hanging because the queen will defend it, but I feel like that makes things a little bit loose for us. It just puts a bishop on an undefended square while also preventing something important, but I feel like there's a safer way to do so. And we got to pick things up. The time situation is getting a little crazy. Yeah, so I want to play rook e1. And a threat we have in the position is after rook e1 to play rook e6 and bishop takes on c6. Because as we notice, the queen is pinning this pawn, this b pawn, to the king. So this pawn is actually not defended by this pawn. It's only defended by the queen. So if we can remove the queen or add an attacker to the pawn, right now there's one attacker, but there's one defender, well, it's sufficiently defended. Because after bishop takes, they take with the queen. However, if we play rook e6, no matter where the queen moves, like if they move to d7, for example, we can still take on c6 because they cannot capture back because our rook can take in that situation. So an actual good defensive move in positions like this is playing king a8 because now all of a sudden the pawn is actually defending the c6 pawn. Okay, so we see g6. I want to play rook e1, and I'm threatening rook e6, as I mentioned before. And again, just to point out, this pawn is only being defended by the queen. Should I play rook e6 here? They're attacking my rook. They're attacking g3. I think my attacks are a little too quick. Let's go rook e6. I probably should have watched out for something like bishop f2, because bishop f2 can be annoying where if I just like drop the pawn for nothing, and I didn't have these types of attacks of rook e6 and bishop takes c6, then it could have been bad, but luckily I think we're okay. So yeah, I like bishop takes c6 here. And again, this is being covered. So they can't really take on e1 right now because I'm threatening queen b7 checkmate. And after they move, I could do two things. I could play rook to e3, giving back the exchange in a pretty interesting way. Ooh. So can I take on b7 here? I don't think so. What about rook e2, letting them take? And then taking on f6. I like that, right? Because our rook is hanging, so we can't take on f6 because then they take on e1. But if we throw in this little move first, rook e2, now all of a sudden they take on g3, but we take on f6. We're losing some pawns near a king, but I don't think it's enough yet because we do also have a great defender of the king, which is the light square bishop. So that's good. So yeah, bishop takes g3, we'll take on f6, and we're actually threatening moves like rook f7. Not immediately, because they have queen takes c6, so again, there's one defender and one attacker. Which again looks a little surprising, but that is the case. And now it's time to just move our defender out of the way. Or our defender and attacker. That's kind of the beauty of having a fianchettoed bishop in the King's Indian attack, is it can serve both as something that helps our king maintain safety and also makes threats of its own. So right now I'm threatening rook e7 and trying to give a check on b7 here. Yep, so let's just continue on with our plan. Rook e7, try to get the 7th rank. And why is the 7th rank? You might hear this term a lot. You call pigs on the 7th. What does that mean? And why is that important? I guess most people know what it means, but the reason why it's actually really important is because it's the first rank that your opponent has that can never, ever, ever be defended by pawns. If you think about it, like the pawns start here. So the pawns control these squares. The pawns, no pawns, are able to control the back 2 ranks for our opponent. And generally, the rooks on the 7th rank are a little bit better than the rooks on the back rank, unless it's like a back rank mate, of course, which is also a tactical theme. Generally, it's because, well, there's still pawns on this rank, and you can try taking them or making them push and create more weaknesses. Because, again, the further they push, the less squares they're able to control. So I like queen b5 here. Just attacking the knight. So they defend with knight to c5. And I don't think this properly defends. I think I can play b4. Which is a funny looking move. And after b4, a6, I have queen to b6, creating a pin. A very funny looking pin, but it is a pin nonetheless. So the knight can't really move unless it goes knight b3 or knight e6. But either way, it would allow rook takes on b7 with some sort of checkmate. Yeah, so again, this queen b6 move kind of saves the day for us and maintains our attack. So if they go like knight d7 or anything, we're not really concerned because then the bishop actually just completely hangs. So the only ways to try to take advantage of this weird alignment is going knight b3 or knight e6. But neither one works. All right, so knight takes d3. I think we can just take on b7, and this should checkmate now. Great. So if they take with the queen, we can just recapture with checkmate. If they go king a8, we have queen takes a6. Do we have something better? We have rook b8 mate, right? So again, when you see a good move, look for better ones sometimes. So there's either queen takes a6, bishop a7, and queen a7, or there's just the immediate rook b8, which is a discovered check. And that's why they can't actually do anything about me playing rook b8. They can't take my queen, they can't take the rook, they can't do anything because they can't attack my bishop on f3. But also, even if they could, wouldn't matter because it's a double check. So it's a double check and mate. Yeah, so let's look at the analysis here of the game. And I'll turn on the eval bar to see if I did anything completely wrong. This felt pretty good. So again, knight c3. I'm not surprised we already have a bit of an advantage. Generally, you don't want to bring your queen to f6. You want to reserve that for your knight. And our opponent didn't do that here. After queen f6, their queen's just going to run into problems with some sort of bishop g5. And this actually shows up in certain lines of the French defense. Which, let's just look at it, actually. If it will let me. Okay, how do I... For some reason, it's not letting me play e4 on this move. But let's just change the move order a little bit. So e6, e4, d5, knight c3, takes. And just pretend that instead of knight f3, we played d4, right? And a move you'll see is knight d7. In that position. So in a very similar position, you'll see knight d7 first, and the idea is after d4, now it's actually just a direct transposition. You'll see this position where they played knight d7, and then we played knight f3. And the idea here is that after knight f6, we take and they recapture with the knight. But instead, if they change the move order and did this instead, we can actually see that they run into problems. So pretend we played knight f3 here instead, and d4 is already played. And we already have threats of bishop g5, and their queen is running out of squares very, very quickly. And this is not something they're happy about. So top move here is h6. And that kind of highlights the problems. If you have to make a move like h6 where it doesn't help with your development at all, it's just to protect your queen because it's so short on squares. Going back to the game though, yeah, so that's kind of why queen f6 isn't really that great. Generally, you don't want to develop your queen too early because it is susceptible to attack. Bishop g5, we end up winning this exchange, and materially wise, we could say the game is over, but I think it's still important to try to find out what to do in these types of positions where you win an exchange, because I've seen countless games by players that are a bit new, and they go up in exchange, and they still lose, or their opponent equalizes and it's a draw. Generally, what you want to do is just go for activity and try to optimize what pieces you do have. So here, I have an extra rook. So I want to open lines, or I want to trade down into some sort of ending. Generally, the rooks are going to be favored against minor pieces and endings, and also open files are good for rooks. So this is my extra piece here, and it's competing, I guess, against this one, let's just say. So my dream scenario is getting it to the d file and making it play there. So yeah, and then we won a pawn, knight g5, and again the idea here was actually to play some sort of knight e6. I was happy with this move. Computer doesn't love it as much, but I personally really liked it, just because when we look at the remaining pieces on the board, we're still up the exchange. These two pieces are directly competing against each other, and these two pieces, it feels like there's an imbalance favoring us, just because our bishop is directly attacking their b7 pawn, and it might force some sort of move like c6, which will weaken their king because they're pushing pawns in front of their king, and this feels like a very comfortable position to win. So yeah, queen b3, c6, and rook e1. And yeah, I thought f4 was fine here. d4 is also good. I was considering it, but I wasn't sure after e4 like why we would do that. Instead, I just thought like, I'll play f4. But the big problem here, I think, is mainly around... I think knight f6 is actually reasonable, but bishop d4, maybe. Could be interesting. Even still, rook takes c5. And the idea here is we still get to take c6 at the end of the day. And their king is still severely weak. Even when we return material, what's left on the board is still probably a winning advantage for white here. Generally, I wouldn't give up an exchange like that for nothing. Maybe f4 was a little unnecessary because it weakens our king. So that's something to think about. But I think that covers the game.